Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we had Saturday night main event number 40. I didn't even know they numbered them, but I saw that the last time, so I'm gonna try to keep up with the numbering because it'll make it easier to be able to, for if you ever watch it back or something, you'll know which one it is without having to pay attention to the card, I guess. I don't know. Honestly, this match card was one of those cards that it's semi exciting for the people that was involved, but it felt very predictable. And oh boy, did a lot of stuff happen here, good and really, really bad. So let's just jump into it. So we started off with Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. They kind of have a little mini feud going on. This is kind of their first big match against each other. Randy Orton had Jelly Roll come down with him because they kind of got into it with SmackDown that Randy saved Jelly from Logan Paul, and then Drew McIntyre took out Randy. This is definitely leading to a SummerSlam match, which later in the card we already know that we're gonna get. It's okay, honestly. I feel like there's like a lot of people get upset about these type of matches because like Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre are top people in the company, and they're like, well, they should be doing other stuff and going after titles. But if they already have storyline planned for the titles, wouldn't you want to at least still be on the card? Like this isn't the greatest thing. You're feuding with Logan Paul and Jelly Roll, but it's still going to be a fun match, and you're going to be on the SummerSlam card, so it's worth it. It's like even on the Saturday main event cards, people are like, oh, I wouldn't want to wrestle on him. Why not? You're still going to have 10,000 screaming fans looking at you. Sometimes this is the first and only time they're ever going to see you, and they can form a dopamine connection to a wrestler. I was talking to my partner about this. It's one of those things where like I feel wrestlers are like Pokemon, where Pokemon, everybody has a favorite Pokemon, and there's 900 plus Pokemon, and only four in the world people don't like out of like a huge survey. So I feel like wrestlers are the same. I feel like if you had every wrestler out there and every wrestler fan and they said their favorite wrestler, a lot of wrestlers would be chosen that you wouldn't even know. Obviously, everybody here, I feel like, is kind of one of those categories that each one of these men out of these eight men here are probably somebody's favorite wrestler. And it's kind of crazy to like. So if you have that type of stuff, this has been a complete tangent, but it's like that for these Saturday night main events that at least them getting on the card is good. Now let's jump into the match. The match itself was okay. It was way too fast of a match. I don't know why they decided to just I'm gonna do whatever I want and like just make it super fast. I don't know why. Like this one felt like it just suffered from they knew that they were gonna have a bunch of other stuff with Jelly Roll and all of that type of stuff. I forgot Logan Paul also did come down with him. So yeah, that was not the greatest. Honestly, this throwback stuff, like it's fun, but I feel like they need to have some major stuff happen on this show. Randy Orton wins. Fairly clean to a certain extent. They just kind of had some back and forth with the outside stuff. I put it in C. I definitely feel like this feud is just getting started, so hopefully the SummerSlam match is better. I think the ideal thing would be is to have a SummerSlam match, and then they could have a match later on between just Randy and Drew again. At least gets them on TV, gets them on these major events, so I really don't see necessarily a problem with it, but it's just not super fun. Next up, we had the U.S. title match. It was Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso. So happy that Jimmy gets some opportunity here. I just feel like he's got to feel bad with him and Jay. They break up. They do their own separate ways, and Jay gets a rocket strapped to him with an IC title reign, a World Heavyweight Championship reign, and Jimmy's just kind of been around. Obviously, he was tied to Roman Reigns, which would have been great if Roman Reigns was around. So he kind of just got the short end of the stick. Even when he was with Solo's crew, he just kind of didn't fit. And then he's just kind of been on the outside looking in. So this match, I think, was a well-deserved tip of the cap for him. The match itself, it was nothing special, unfortunately. They're kind of limited to their moves. Solo needs somebody that can do a lot of stuff around him, and Jimmy just isn't that. I think it was pretty nice. It was a better match than Jimmy and Jay. At least if we're gonna go brotherly matches, I'd put it down in C. It wasn't much better than the Drew McIntyre match. I think the Drew McIntyre match I would say is probably higher, but overall, I'd still put it down in C. Then we had where they were showing off the crowd and showed Jade Cargill and stuff, but then Naomi attacked her, and I thought that was a nice touch because we get those moments all the time where they show a million people and nothing really happens. It just kind of feels like they're bragging or flexing, but this actually had some story to it. Then Nick Aldis came down and said he was sick of it and that he's making Bianca Belair the special guest referee at tomorrow's match. That is phenomenal chef's kiss thing. If Bianca's not back, like to be able to do the battle royal or anything else, this is a really good chance to either get her on the card. And I also like to touch that if you go to Twitter or X or whatever, Bianca said that Naomi was in her gear because it had like her name on it, and like because the gold looked odd for her wearing it, but I thought maybe it was just something that she wanted to do. I think that was a really interesting, wild touch to it. But yeah, this kind of segment was like worth watching the show in general to me, just because it was better and more story driven than anything else on the card. Next up, we get to, unfortunately, really bad stuff. So, Seth Rollins versus LA Knight. The match itself, I actually think was cooking. I do think that it probably would have ended up in the B, and that's actually where I'm going to put it. Obviously, what happens is Seth Rollins ends up taking a very nasty jump and tweaking his knee, and it looks like he's legitimately hurt. So, prayers for him or whatever you want to say. I don't even know if I would say prayers type of thing. That's against that, but it's just not my thing. But I just hope that he's going to be okay. And, you know, it sucks for him because he's Mr. Money in the Bank and all that. And they just kind of had to quickly end it, and LA Knight won. So I'm not going to really judge that. I think it's unfair to. I think the match itself before that was doing pretty good. I really think it was a solid B, and it was just kind of unfortunate that they couldn't finish it off because I feel like they still had another 4 or 5 minutes that they were going to go onto that, and I think it would have absolutely made the match, you know, rise up a lot more. So very unfortunate. But we get to the main event where we've been wanting to see everything. Gunther versus Goldberg. They set up everything with, you know, Jay losing the title and Gunther being the champion just to get to this point to make this match seem more special. Honestly, my feelings about it was like, I'm gonna just chalk up and put this in D right before I even watched the card. Like, I had no premise that this was gonna be anything because obviously Goldberg's old and Gunther isn't always the best on making people look good. But I think he did a phenomenal job. I think he went out there and did what he had to do. He looked good, made Goldberg looked good, you know, had some good heelish behavior, went after his Finn. I think a lot of this stuff, he gave Goldberg that time where it was a 14-minute match, but it felt like he actually got Goldberg there without Goldberg looking completely gassed or like dead. So I think he did a lot of side stuff, got him some extra time in the ring to relax between like the segments of the fight. So I honestly think that, you know, Gunther did a really good job here, like just on a non-kayfabe way of things. So, yeah, I feel like this match itself, I would probably just put into B. I don't think it was that bad compared to what I thought it was going to be. It was entertaining, and being a retirement match, I thought it was, you know, pretty good. And Gunther looked good out there. I feel like Gunther definitely held up a lot of this. I think Gunther's probably skill out there was probably like a minus, maybe B, and Goldberg was probably like a C to slash D, but he was able to make it look good, make make the ending look decent for his retirement match. And I probably put this whole thing into a C plus. It wasn't that good. Compared to the 3 events that I watched in the day, it was definitely by far the worst. But what can you say, honestly? There's not much you could do with this. It was going to be one of those matches and cards that wasn't going to be that great to start off with. But if you guys like these things, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We don't get another Saturday main event until like December, so I think them having a little bit of time off hopefully allows them to go to the drawing board and figure out what they want to do with this, because I definitely feel like there's some changes that need to be done. Not necessarily in the match lengths, or because people hate the commercials and all that. I could care less. That's kind of what they're going to do anyways because they need to make money off of it. But man, they just need to figure out where they how important they want to make these things, because they treat them like the mini PLEs. They really do need to have some title changes and some stakes in it instead of just having title matches we know we're never going to flip on these matches. So yeah, if you guys like this, like I said, comment, like, whatever. And this has been Japan. Bye guys.